Dave, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about a little bit about yourself and PuppySpot and your role there.
Sure. So PuppySpot is a online marketplace that brings together approved and vetted breeders and people looking for puppies for their happy homes. I've been with PuppySpot over 3 years, and I'm the chief information officer, and I'm responsible for overseeing technology, systems, and product team.
So tell us a little bit about why you chose Bolt, what you were looking to solve for there, and how has Bolt helped you reach those goals?
We had our own proprietary e-commerce system, and we were dealing with a bunch of different issues. One is we weren't able to sell anything except the puppy itself. There was no what we like to call external revenue, like insurance or puppy packs or food or something like that, so ancillary products. And then on the other side, we also were dealing with fraud. The last thing, when somebody goes in to buy a puppy, there's, like I said, there's a lot of bad actors, and there's bad actors on the buying side. People will buy puppies with using fake credit cards or illegal purchase activities. And what Bolt was offering us was the assurance that they would decrease the fraud and they would indemnify us for the fraud on most of the purchases. And after the first year, we saw our fraud come down dramatically. And the old way of doing things with Lexis and Nexus and having people email us their driver's license, that was a disaster. And that's a thing of the past now with Bolt. We don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I was going to ask you on that fraud piece, how were you handling it previously? And then what kind of metrics have you been tracking to see that, Bolt was able to improve upon those fraud numbers?
Right. So in the old process, we take the credit card number over the phone, which was just an okay scenario to start with because you have all kinds of PCI compliance problems.
Sure.
And we don't want to handle people's credit card or be responsible for them. But then when we put them through our original payment processor, they would come back with, the authorization rate was not nearly what it was or what it is with Bolt now. So we would have to go in and we'd have to do double checks on people. We'd have a Lexis Nexus account where we would go in and we'd investigate specific people's addresses, names, phone numbers, driver's license. We'd actually have a dedicated person just to dealing with fraud. And now we don't have that anymore. Because of Bolt's algorithm, we're allowed to get a response back right away. And you can tell us whether it's approved, which I think happens over 95% of the time in our cases. And then for those 5% that aren't approved, which is a small number, we can either go in and look to, Bolt will go in and take some time to see if they can approve it. And if they can't, then they will reject it and they will hand it back to us and give us the purview whether we want to approve it or reject it. And in the beginning, we were a little skeptical, so we looked a little bit more into it. But as we became more of a Bolt user and as we become more comfortable with it, we don't even review the rejections anymore for the most part unless there's some escalation that happens.
Okay. And you guys you're on PuppySpot is on BigCommerce. Can you talk a little bit about the implementation process and how that went working with Bolt?
Sure. So that was part of the impetus behind Bolt in the first case. So we were going to an e-commerce system from our own proprietary e-commerce system, and we decided that BigCommerce was going to be the best solution for us. And the reason we went with BigCommerce is not because of the vast richness of their e-commerce platform, but also we use it as a headless e-commerce system, which means that we don't use their front end right now for our purchases. We have our own proprietary front end, and we just plug BigCommerce into that. And Bolt was one of the companies that BigCommerce recommended in order to be able to facilitate this and to make it as smooth an implementation as possible. And it was a pretty smooth implementation.
So a few other features that we're talking about today, and I'm sure you're taking advantage of, are things like the merchant analytics dashboard and improvements there. Can you talk about how you're using that and what are you looking for out of the merchant analytics side?
Yeah, so that's an area where Bolt has come a long way over the last couple of years. Sometime last year, I remember you introduced this analytics dashboard and funnel onto the sheet that both executives and users can use. So if there's ever any anomalies that come up in our daily reports, the first place I go to is the Bolt Analytics to make sure that our number of people that have entered the funnel have been the same or hasn't changed, and the people that exit the funnel hasn't changed. So that rules out one big portion of where we used to have a lot of our trouble was in the authorization / credit card processing piece. So that's been a big help and a big time saver for us. And it also allows us to go and receive our monthly reports, which we get a monthly recap from our Bolt representative, but we can go in at any time and just look at different pieces, how many people are coming from mobile, how many people are coming from desktop, who's a Bolt account holder, who's not a Bolt account holder, what's the average spend, what's the authorization rate, what's the click-through rate. All the analytics that we've been looking for and we never had before are available in the Bolt interface.
So as we wrap up, and we're in, a lot of people say we're in 2020 part 2 now with the pandemic, and a lot of talk of pandemic pets. I mean, what kind of growth have you seen the last 2 years? With particularly with the pandemic and people looking to adopt more, and then what role has Bolt played in that growth?
Well, Bolt has played an important role. Obviously, we can't assign a reason for one thing or versus another, but I can tell you since we've implemented Bolt, the number of e-commerce transactions on our site has grown exponentially. Our authorization rate has gone much higher, and we're finishing. 2020 was one of our best years ever. I mean, it was terrible with the pandemic, but as far as dog adoptions go, it was very successful. It ate a little into 2021, so to speak, when people started to get out again and business started to get down. But we see it coming back right now, and having Bolt as a partner is a very important thing for us because they're looking to what our needs are to help us grow, and they continually put things out that are on our roadmap, and we work together in order to get them on there.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm already browsing the site a lot, looking for my second Cavapoo. So appreciate your time and
PuppySpot.com.
Yeah, tell us how to find you, Dave.
PuppySpot.com. We have over 100 breeds, and we deal with approved and vetted breeders throughout the country. So
great.
Happy to have you peruse.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem, Ian. Have a good day.
You too.